Against the Ropes podcast.
Against the Ropes, number one.
Against the Ropes podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. AtR podcast. Gio Garcia here alongside Christian Mosqueda. Back at it again. The face of boxing was back last weekend, Chris. So, of course, we had to be back as well. Welcome to the show, everyone.
Yeah, and then we're going to let people trickle in, but you said it, Joe. This was the weekend, Cinco de Mayo weekend, face of boxing. This fight was billed as a homecoming in Guadalajara, Mexico, in his hometown with all his people. Again, it was not against a very popular opponent, Gio, but there was a lot of anticipation just for Canelo. I gotta ask you, did it fit the billing, in your opinion? Yes or no?
Well, of course, everyone wanted the knockout, right? Everyone expects a lot out of Canelo Alvarez. His measuring stick is different than for others, right? The bar is always so high. So I think in that sense, of course, we were a bit disappointed not that he didn't get that knockout, that stoppage. It seemed like he was going to get it early in the fight. He broke John Ryder's nose. It was probably that punch there on your screen. And they acknowledged that, Ryder and Canelo at the end of the second round. And we'll get into all of that. But it looked like it was going to be an early night for Canelo. But, as we expected, Chris, we talked about this last week. John Ryder is a tough guy, ton of heart, very durable. He's very experienced, very strong. We knew he wasn't going to give up. I had predicted, I think, 9 or 10, round 9 or 10. So I expected this fight to get into the deeper rounds. But I think more so what I can walk away with is I'm happy for Ryder. I'm glad he went all 12. I think he made everyone in England proud. I think I'll walk away more so with that than perhaps what people are gonna say or were saying that Canelo slowing down. He wasn't able to stop this guy. This guy was a nobody. If you know, you know. We knew that John Ryder is a very good fighter, and I'm a bit surprised that he went 12, but I'm not shocked at all. I mean, I'm happy for him. But, of course, everyone expected or wanted, at least, a knockout by Canelo.
Yeah. Yeah, no, like you said, everybody was expecting that knockout, especially, it being at home in front of your fans, You saw the size of the ring. It almost felt like, that was. If you don't get a knockout, that's like you said, the haters, the naysayers were gonna jump on Canelo. But yeah, and then, like you said, it seemed like we were gonna get that knockdown. In the fifth round, you see a very hurt Ryder go down. After a 1-2 by Canelo, and I even said I was like, I feel like if Canelo hurts him, he's gonna, I don't want to say let him survive, but he's going to try to get a little bit more rounds out of him, maybe because I felt that he was going to be confident enough to hurt him later on as well and, take him out. But no, like you mentioned, the guts and the toughness on John Ryder, man, it was there on display, not just the fifth, but the ninth where he was hurt again. He's a tough dude, durable dude. He was going into the lion's den and to survive. And there was moments where, the ref could have stopped it, but John Ryder in his corner, they wanted to see the bell, and like you said, it's a moral victory for him. His people, his fans could be proud of him. He went into the lion's den, and like you said, maybe some people will say that Canelo's maybe slipping a little bit. I'll pose you that question in a bit. But again, it was one of the toughest tests, going up against the face of boxing in his hometown. So with that, Joe, I gotta ask: do you feel some of the comments are? Do you think they're right? Do you feel like we are starting to see the slippage of Canelo, or do you think it was just not his best night?
Well, obviously he's not going to look younger because guess what? He's getting older every single day, right? Just as John Ryder. And I was thinking about this, man. It's unfortunate that, John Ryder now, 34 years old, he's getting kind of that exposure. I think I like to check the Canelo opponent's Instagram because I feel like that's a good measure nowadays. It's something tangible that you can look up and kind of see the before and after. I think he had about 34,000 followers before the fight, like the week of, or whenever we did the podcast last week. Before that night, he had about 34,000 followers. Now I think it's doubled. I haven't checked it, but last time I checked, it was close to 70,000. So I say that to say, look, John Ryder has had a very good career. He's faced very good opponents, and unfortunately, most people don't know because most people don't watch boxing like that, right? Most people didn't expect him to do this because most people don't watch boxing like that. With all that being said, I don't think it was a bad night for Canelo. I think he had a very good opponent in there, an experienced guy with championship experience. He's faced several champions in his career and probably got the short end of the stick in most of those. The ones I mentioned last week with Callum Smith in his hometown, with Rocky Fielding and Rocky Fielding's hometown, the Billy Joe Saunders fight. Luckily for him, he got the decision against Jacobs, but I think he's a very, very good opponent for a quote-unquote tune-up, and we'll get into that, right? Because like Big Bro was saying last week, the Canelo tune-ups are much better than these other guys from that other company who fight once a year and fight, guys who don't deserve to be, in that ring with them. But yeah, I don't think Canelo's slipping. I think styles make fights. Obviously, he didn't get the knockout. If he gets a knockout, then everybody would have been saying, "Oh, he looked great." Canelo's back. But more credit to John Ryder than anything. I don't think this was a bad fight for Canelo. I think it's a very good comeback fight, hometown fight after surgery, after not fighting since September against Golovkin. Now testing out the hand. He mentioned that. He was asked that at the end of the fight. If there was any worries about the hand and if it's good now. And he said, yeah, he didn't know if the hand was going to be 100%, but now he knows that hand is good. So, of course, people are going to talk, Chris. People are always going to talk about Canelo, whether he beats this guy or he beats that guy or he doesn't look good or he looks great. People are always going to talk. So, to me, it was good to see him back in the ring. And, of course, I think he has his eyes set on Dimitri Bivol. So I think that is my biggest takeaway from that. I don't think the fight was ever he was in any danger of losing the fight. He essentially won every single round. So I think it was a good display. Not great, but a good display and good moving forward now, getting some rounds in, testing that hand and now preparing for Bivol, it seems like.
Yeah. And just to put the 5-punch stat into context, I got to give credit to Ryder. He threw almost as many punches as Canelo. Canelo threw 459. John Ryder threw 457. Canelo landed 179, more than double John Ryder's connect percentage of 80. So he was there. He was trying. But of course, it's a technique disparity there. But you got to commend somebody like that. Even though you're getting out punched, you're still trying. You're still, you're trying to give a valiant effort. So you got to commend somebody like that nobody outside your camp, outside of your family, gave you a chance. And I know we didn't give him a big chance, but hey, even defeat, you could get fans. And so the Brits can be very proud. He joins a list of British victims for Canelo. I don't know if you've seen this list, Gio, but it's out there. And Canelo just happened to. Yeah, Gio?
Yes. Go
So
ahead.
yeah, Canelo just happens to have his way with Brits, and he adds another Brit to the list. And just to go back really, really quickly, he's got Matthew Hatton, Ryan Rhodes, Amir Khan, Liam Smith, Rocky Fielding, Big Bro or Little Bro, Callum Smith, Billy Joe Saunders, and now John Ryder, man. So I know we've been having a Mexican British, some good fights, and coming May, we have a couple more. But yeah, you gotta commend the Brits for at least giving us some good fights, man. They got heart.
1,000%, and that rivalry continues May 27th. Luis Alberto Lopez against Mickey Conlan, and even though he's from Northern Ireland, but hey, close enough, man. We'll count it. The UK. And then, of course, Mauricio Lara against Lee Wood, the rematch. So that rivalry continues. It's a great rivalry, Chris. Two great, I would say the two best fan bases in the world when it comes to boxing. Two very passionate fan bases. I would say the British crowd a little more supportive, right? They're with you, win or lose. Whereas the Mexican crowd, if you lose one, that crowd can turn against you. Or if you don't throw enough punches, that crowd could turn against you. But let's go to a comment by Big Bro here checking in. He says Canelo might be slipping a little after 60-plus fights, but still has the best. He's still the best super middleweight in the world. I think there's no doubt about that. Of course, they're going to mention David Benavidez, but I think David still has a long way to go. He just obtained his first big win of his career. I mean, Canelo has maybe 10, maybe 15, maybe 20 of those big wins. So they're not on the same level, but yeah, as Canelo gets older and older, of course, that fight will get more and more interesting. And to me, hey, milk it. If you're going to fight Benavidez, milk it, because that way Benavidez has more of a chance, If Canelo would have given him that fight when Benavidez first started calling him out 3 years ago, Benavidez gets stopped. Now it's more of an even fight. And as Canelo gets older, I think it's an even more even fight. So if they're going to do it, I say milk it. But Chris, going back to the point where you mentioned the ring, Jessica McCaskill mentioned that it was, an 18-foot ring, so very small. That's one of the first things that I mentioned. Of course, you knew what the plan was going into the fight, stand in there and fight. That's what John Ryder likes to do. Canelo loves to counterpunch, so it made all the sense in the world for both men, I would say.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the reasons why people expected a knockout, especially from Canelo, because if that ring is small, you'd figure in Mexico it's gonna be a barn burner kind of fight, toe to toe, none of this running, none of this box. It's just gonna be action fight. So I think that's why people were a little disappointed. But just going back to Benavidez, of course, Senior was gonna say some things, make some comments,
No way. Did he say something? No way, Chris.
He said,
You gotta be no. I am
so
shocked right now.
I'm gonna read you the comment and you tell me if you agree or disagree. Okay, so this is what Benavidez Senior said. Canelo's not the same Canelo from 4 fights ago. In this fight, I didn't see the ferocity in Canelo. I didn't see the determination. Canelo's body's not responding. He is still young, but he started when he was 15 and 16. So Benavidez Senior is alluding that we are witnessing the decline of Saul. Do you agree with his comments?
Well, I think, look, as you get older, obviously physically, the decline is inevitable. I think he talks about two things right here. He's talking about a physical decline and a mental decline. He's talking about the ferocity or whatever. I obviously don't agree with that. I think he just had a very durable opponent in there. Just like Benavidez couldn't knock out Caleb Plant, right? A guy who Canelo had no trouble with. So as far as the physical decline, of course, like I said, he's not going to look any younger. John Ryder is not going to look any younger. John Ryder's 34, Canelo's 32. Of course, he has 60-plus fights. Of course, physically, I think as time goes on, he's going to move less and less around the ring, but he's still a great counterpuncher, so I'm not sure he needs that. So I don't know if I fully agree with that, honestly. I don't agree with much that Jose Benavides Sr. says in regards to Canelo, because he says a lot. I think if you look on his Instagram, 90% of it is about Canelo. So you got to take that with a grain of salt, in my opinion.
Yeah. Okay, fair. And obviously this fight was in Mexico. I kind of, talked about the importance of this fight, not necessarily for the opponent, but in Mexico. Do you feel like this fight in Mexico, maybe him not getting a stoppage, particularly in Mexico, do you think that could have hurt him in the hearts of Mexican fans and the hearts of those that, want to pick either him or Julio Cesar as the greatest? Do you think it affected it in any way, shape, or form?
I'm sure people are prisoners of the moment. They're going to forget about everything he did beforehand and talk about this fight, right? I saw a tweet by Oscar de la Hoya. Not sure if it was real or not. I didn't really go on his Twitter and verify this, but there's a tweet that said that I think he posted a picture of all three of them, Canelo, Julio Cesar Chavez, and de la Hoya, and he said Julio Cesar Chavez will forever be the greatest. Obviously throwing shots at Canelo, but I think so. I think the people wanted a knockout. But to me, it was a very good boxing fight against, like I keep repeating it, very good opponent. So it's not Hogan, Haggy, whoever Chavez fought against. I mean, that guy was a joke. Canelo had a real opponent in there. It wasn't the Chavez opponents in El Estadio Azteca. It wasn't that guy. They found that guy around the corner and
Okay.
slipped him some pesos.
Man. But yeah, no, I agree with you with the prisoner of the moment. I feel like you're right. Certain people will say, well, in Mexico, you got to deliver, but I mean, maybe when the careers are all said and done, maybe they can look at the bigger picture. But my next question, Gio, is with the whole slipping or, those little signs of decline, quote unquote, are you surprised that guys like Charlo and others are calling Canelo out now? They've been going on social media the last couple of days saying that they want this fight. Does it surprise you?
No, because look, when Triple G got older, then everyone started mentioning his name, and even now, most guys don't even mention Triple G. Right? When Triple G was knocking everyone out, no one spoke about him. So that's usually how it goes, And I think more so than anything, they see the big checks that come with the Canelo fight, right? Caleb Plant got paid. Although Eddie Hearn got all his guys paid. And we'll get into the purses and all that. But I think it's part of also they're getting older, so the clock is ticking for them. So they if they want a big payday, there's only one guy in the world who can get you that, and that's Canelo.
Yeah. All right. Well, with that said, man, Canelo is 32 years of age. He's a 17-year pro. He lost to Bivol 13 months ago. Do you feel like this fight is next? We know Canelo fights in May and September. He's most likely or not guaranteed to fight in September. Would you say it's an ill-advised fight to take on Bivol in September, or what are your thoughts, Gio?
No, you take it. You take it now, and that's to me the highest level of boxing that we can watch today. Probably with Tyson Fury against Usyk being a close second, but if you want to talk pure boxing, two great fighters, great boxers, great technicians, great coming forward, great going backwards, it's Canelo Bivol. So I want to see it again as a boxing fan. Obviously, it's an uphill battle. Canelo is fighting 2-3 weight classes above from where he should be fighting in reality, because the guys his size 5'8" are fighting at 135 pounds. These guys at 140, most of them are almost 6 feet tall. The Jose Ramirez of the world and the Josh Taylors. Like, can you imagine Jose Ramirez at 147? You probably can, right? That's nothing crazy. Can you imagine him now at 154? Now he starts getting into dangerous territory. Like a guy against, like, let's say he fights a Charlo, he's getting knocked out. Let's say he goes to 60 and fights Charlo at 6, the other Charlo at 60, he's getting knocked out. 68, you can't even imagine that for Jose Ramirez, right? And that guy physically, he's bigger than Canelo. So what Canelo doing right now is extraordinary. And I think, look, You take the Bivol fight. If you lose, I mean, obviously the people who don't really watch boxing will hold that against him, but us, the boxing fan, will salute him for, first of all, taking that challenge the first time, and even more so for taking it the second time, knowing the guy already beat you and wanting to fight him at 75. So to me, if I'm Canelo, I'm sure he wants to get it back. So that's the only guy I'm looking at, Bivol. And of course, I think Bivol deserves a payday. So why not?
Yeah, and of course, Canelo has gone on record. He said that he wants to rematch Bivol at 175. If you're Canelo's team, wouldn't you advise him to bring him down at 168? Wouldn't you try to, obviously we've seen what happens with with drainage and advantages it gives you. And then if you were to put on your manager's hat, would you not advise Canelo to take Bivol at 168 in your division?
Well, I think that's the logical thing to do, right? But look, if Canelo says I want him at 75, you have to trust your guy. You're not gonna tell him, hey, you know what, you shouldn't do that, because now I feel like there's a lack of trust and respect there now for your fighter. Like Tank Davis, I'm sure they were like, hey Tank, nah, don't do it at 40, do it at 36. I'm sure Tank was like, man, fuck y'all, Plus rehydration clause. Oh man, y'all really don't believe in me, But take the challenge, man. I think that's what they're all about. I mean, they went up to 68, which they went up to 60 to fight the best guy at 60, Triple G. Most people thought that was crazy. He went up to 68, wiped that division out. That was crazy. Now he went up to 75, won a belt. So I wouldn't put any limitations or any ceilings to what Canelo wants to do. I would let him do it, man. What about you, Chris? You'd be a little shaky.
I honestly, I'd be like,
Canelo.
I know your pride tells you, let's fight at 175, let's run it back. You didn't beat me, But as a team, I'm like, yo, we got to keep it real. That guy's bigger. He's, just more physical. Let's bring him down to our division. Let's see if he can do it to us, in our division. I would.
Hey, you know what, Chris? You know what people are saying though? The people who always have something to say. I read some comments of people saying, "Oh, Canelo doesn't want to fight people at 68 because he doesn't want to lose all his belts."
Damn.
So it's like it doesn't matter what he does. People are always gonna come up with some bullshit. So,
yeah.
Hey, I like the challenge. I like the challenge at 75, and I think he has a very good chance of winning that fight. I think if he wins 2-3 more rounds, I think he wins that fight. So I think he just didn't have the right strategy in the first fight. I think he went in there trying to do what he does to most guys. Like, I don't know why most people don't bring up the Kovalev fight, because that fight was close. I mean, that fight might have been 5-5 going into that 11th when he stopped Kovalev. I believe it was 11th. So that was a close fight. So the size difference is huge. It's a big factor. So it's there, but I think if he has a better strategy, I think he can definitely do a lot of damage to Bivol. Bivol missed a lot of punches in that fight, and people failed to mention that as well. I just think there just wasn't enough coming back. Like, I feel like he was winning a lot of those rounds because, he was active, and Canelo was against the ropes, and it looked like, he was hurting Canelo, and it looked like he was dominating at times. But Bivol probably missed 80% of his punches in the fight. So just like the Triple G Canelo #1, and people thought that was a blowout for Golovkin. So I think with the right adjustments, he has a very good chance of winning that fight, especially because Bivol is not a power puncher. He's going to go 12. You know that. So I think Canelo got too greedy in the first one. He wanted to hurt Bivol like he does with most guys. And I think he's just going to be smarter the second time around.
Okay, I see what you're saying. I'm going to disagree respectfully. I feel
hey, Chris,
like
you sound like those Instagram comments of the people who never heard about Bivol, and all of a sudden he's the greatest in the world.
I wouldn't say he's the greatest. I just think he just has a lock in his division, and I think, like like people have mentioned and I've mentioned before, is just that size and that discipline. I don't think Canelo has fought, and we've seen in the past, Canelo tends to, I don't want to say has trouble, but if anything gives him trouble is those boxer style fighters. And he normally, outside of Mayweather, he finds a way. He finds a way to win. You mentioned a great example with Kovalev. Kovalev was jabbing Canelo, to the game plan, and then you mentioned it right. He, was able to he was able to be patient and find an opening, with his feints, and he got him out of there. I don't know if Bebo will fall for those traps just because Bebo did not fight Canelo like a, toe to toe. He kind of just respected the face of boxing, and he's like, I'm not gonna try to knock him out. I'm just gonna beat him. That's it. I'm not gonna take more chances than I need to. And I think Bebo knows if he does fall into the trap of trying to get a knockout or get brave, or Canelo will catch you. So I disagree that Canelo can beat him at 175, but at 168, with the right, and I know we take, a lot of heat for this, but hey, there's a reason why those teams tell you to, get that edge. If Canelo can do what an A-side does and get an edge somehow in this, these negotiations, I would love to see that at 168. I would love to see Canelo at his best and then try to level the playing field by bringing people down to 168 and see if Bebo really is as great as, what many people think he can be.
Yeah, I just think 7 pounds is too much for Bebo. I don't know if he can do it. I think he would be very, very drained.
They look like Tyson.
Hey, but look, like I think now Bebo is very overrated. Like the way that people speak about him, he gets hit every fight. Like that's a fact. I'm not sure that Canelo can hurt him, but he gets hit every single fight. To me, he was very fortunate against Joe Smith Jr. that he got hit at the end of the round because he wobbled back to his corner, and he was able to recover in that time. But he's there to get hit. His defense isn't the greatest. Let's be honest. I think it's overrated now that people watched him fight against Canelo. I think if they're the same size, I don't think Canelo has much trouble with him. And that's a thing that people fail to realize. He has such an advantage because he's much bigger than Canelo. But I don't believe that size wins fights. If he wins again, then yeah, of course, you got to say, man, Canelo is crazy for doing 175. He just couldn't do it, But I feel like Canelo is always going to have a chance. And fuck it, man. At this point of his career, he's already legendary. To me, he's already the greatest Mexican boxer of all time. He definitely has the greatest resume out of any of those guys that you mentioned as far as like Mexican boxers. So if he's able to beat Bivol, crazy thing is people are not really going to give him credit, but that's probably going to be top 2 win for him after Golovkin.
Yeah. And I agree that Canelo either is or will go down as Mexico's greatest prize fighter. I think I know he's made the most money out of any Mexican, even including Julio Cesar Chavez. He's made the most money. In a sense, that makes him the best.
Chris,
and
no.
I agree with you. He's got a much better resume.
I don't think money has anything to do with anything. So I strongly disagree with that.
The problem is he is not going to go down as the most loved Mexican fighter, and I think that's a lot of people.
Man. He's too light
use
skinned.
that. A lot of people use that for their criteria. Obviously, Julio Cesar Chavez did not divide his people. He was, obviously he spoke Spanish, stayed speaking Spanish the way Tito did it with Puerto Rico, and he was able to just have the whole country behind him, something that Canelo hasn't been able to do. But if we go by resumes, which you should do as an objective, fan, Canelo is the greatest. Even if he retires right now, he's the greatest Mexican fighter of all time. The money is just a side effect. Just
Cherry on top.
Process.
The cinnamon on top.
The cinnamon on top.
Yeah, but going back to the point of being liked, like let's keep it real. Who is loved today by, you would say, all the fans? There's no one out there who's loved by everyone with all this internet stuff, YouTube, social media. Like, there's always someone who's gonna hate someone for whatever reason. I'm sure there's someone out there who fucking hates Usyk. There's probably some Russians out there who are like, this guy is the worst boxer in the world. Everyone. Um, there's always someone who's going to be hated, and I think that's even more, magnified now. That we can literally read the comments and see people with the negative stuff. But I don't know. Chavez is just different. Like he was the right amount of hood, the right amount of imperfect with all his issues. And he had a crazy record. I don't know. He just had the perfect combination where everyone just loved him, right? I'm sure there's people who hate him, but we'll never hear about them because we weren't there present in that time. So, yeah, I don't know.
I was just gonna say Canelo came out of the gates losing, bro. A little Irish boy, and never gonna claim that Irish hair.
He was he was partners with De La Hoya. They didn't like that. Everyone liked Chavez Jr., including yourself. They had to hate Canelo.
Yeah, no, you're right. You can't please everybody. All right, well, with that, let me ask you: who do you think which fighter currently active has the least amount of haters? Who do you think is the guy that's probably the most liked?
Oh, come on, man! If you dislike Chocolatito, there is something wrong with you. There is something wrong with you. Let me tell you. I don't know if you had someone else in mind, but Chocolatito. I mentioned Usyk, but I'm sure some people don't like Usyk, but I think he's very liked. But Chocolatito for sure. Come on.
Yeah. I was gonna say Triple G in his prime. He was pretty. Obviously he divided certain people, but for the most part, most people were like, I'm a Canelo fan, but I can't dislike that guy. He's cool. Let's see who else comes to mind. Ryan Garcia. No, but yeah. Again, for me, it was just like, what can Canelo do? Come this homecoming fight, and I felt he can get a lot of the Mexican fan base with a superb performance. Obviously, everybody wants to see a knockout. He didn't get it, but I mean, again, you're not gonna. And he knows that I think that's only he came out. This guy came out with some comments. He's like another Benavidez Senior, just a harsh critic of Canelo. He's already saying that Canelo should retire and this and that, that and this. Yeah, you're never gonna please everybody.
Hey, dude, you know what's crazy though? If he retires now, it's probably better than if he retires later, because as he gets older, he's gonna start slipping, and like I said, people are prisoners of the moment. That's what they're gonna remember. But let me just mention some random facts from the fight. Some stuff that I thought was pretty cool. His 94-year-old grandma was there in attendance. That was pretty cool to see. Of course, all his friends and family came out. So, if I'm not mistaken, did they say that was her first time watching Canelo in person?
Yeah, that was her first time. So 94-year-olds can't just get out and go to Vegas on a whim.
Seriously. Yeah, so I thought that was pretty cool to see. And just to kind of see like what you kind of thought during the fight when Ryder went down in the fifth, that great 1-2 slipped right through the middle. Did you think that was that? Because he did hesitate a little bit. He fell backward, and it seemed like he was gonna have a Ryan moment.
Yeah. No, at that moment I thought it was gonna be over. Obviously, when we give our predictions, we say the ninth, but we always say he's not at Canelo's level. He might get him out early. And so at that moment, in that real time, I thought either Canelo's gonna finish him off or that corner is gonna say, we already got paid. We don't get paid for overtime. We're already a millionaire. Let's go. Let's go home. Let's go back to the UK.
All right.
But yeah, I thought it's gonna be over.
Same. I thought so, but I wasn't shocked that Ryder recovered and kept fighting. Yeah. I expected that from him. Next question. If Chavez Jr. had Ryder's heart, do you think he would have been as successful as Canelo?
I wouldn't say as successful, but he would have had so many more wins, and he would have had the love of the people. Just because Chavez Jr. has that style, just like his dad. And people love that style, and if you had that heart and that discipline, even coming short in certain fights, you're gonna get loved by your people. So, yeah, I think people know that Chavez Jr. can never emulate what his dad did, but if he just came close to just being something like him, people would have respected him a lot more, for sure.
Mm. Hey, we got some interesting characters in the comment section, Chris. I'm tuning into
What are they saying? What are they saying,
to the
Joe?
comments. Fernandez says, "You are insane when you say Canelo is the greatest Mexican of all time." So, someone doesn't watch boxing. He says at age 32, and see, this is what I mean when people say comments like this, they have no idea. Because look, all this guy has to do is check BoxRec, right? And he would understand how silly that comment is, because he says at age 32, Chavez had 93 fights and still showing high quality. Yeah, he was also fighting guys who were like 8-10 and 18-26 and stuff like that. So, hey, look, BoxRec is free. You can go to BoxRec. It's a free platform. Type in Julio Cesar Chavez, and you'll understand how silly that comment looks like. Because let me tell you, man, Chavez in his prime, in those stay busy fights, he wasn't fighting guys like Ryder. He was fighting guys like me and Chris, guys who are not fighters.
Hey, I got some wins. I got some amateur wins. Okay. But yeah, no, like you said, yeah, no, BoxRec is free, man. Like you mentioned, Gio, people could be prisoners of the moment. I thought that when I was, seeing Julio Cesar Chavez, fight, hearing my uncles and my dad, I also thought he was the greatest thing since, the invention of, freaking bread. But obviously you got to do your due diligence, you got to do your homework, go back and look and see what kind of opponents, and you compare with the guys that Canelo has fought. Canelo has fought nothing but champions. And like people have mentioned, even his mentors are tough, tough guys. So not taking away anything from Julio Cesar Chavez. He is one of the very best, the most loved for sure. But when you go down the resumes and you take off the emotion out of it, there's nobody touching Canelo.
Yeah, I think Ildis Fernandez is a Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. fan. I think we spotted one. Yeah, and he's trying to mention some of his Chavez better opponents, but he mentioned Mayweather. Oh man, and that's so you can tell this guy didn't watch boxing. Have you ever watched that fight, Fernandez? Chavez against Mayweather? Have you watched both of them? Because he's mentioning Morel and Benavidez in the same sentence as Canelo. So this guy probably came from Instagram or something. No, it's funny though, because hey, we're gonna let the chat do its thing. Hey, we warned them. Yeah. Let the chat deal with them, because hey, you gotta spit facts if you're in the chat. You gotta spit facts. They're gonna chew your ass up. We'll let the homies deal with that.
Base, man. They know their stuff, But yeah, man.
Hey, hold up. Because I want him to write this in the chat. Can you name the guy who Chavez fought in El Estadio Azteca? And probably name the guys after he fought after Taylor and Mayweather too, please, and write their records. That's all you got to do.
We actually named that guy earlier in the podcast, so it's
if you do it, the roast is gonna get worse.
Yeah,
but he's gonna Google the answer. Yeah, I mean, I don't even think he knows David Morrell's record. He mentioned David Morrell.
Yeah. So I was gonna say, obviously, nothing to take anything from Cesar. The guy that he fought, it shows you how loved he was. It still stands as the highest ranking boxing match, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was about 90K, fighting a nobody really. That just shows you how much he was loved. But again, as we mentioned, if you take out the emotions out of it, you go by the resume, you go by the opponents, the number of champions you fought, the quality of opponents. Canelo is up there. And again, you don't have to, love Canelo. Don't have to be a fan. But if you want to, rate objectively, that's the guy that stands. And of course, people won't rate him until he retires. Until they like you said, see the big picture. But yeah, man, for now we gotta enjoy Canelo. Many people are saying, it's those 30s, man. He's been fighting since he was 15, so it's not like a regular 32-year-old. You know, he's still in great condition, but hey, nobody beats Father Time.
100%. And let's go to some comments here. Big Bro. Oh, let's go to Beast first. He says Canelo whooped his son. His son doesn't get any worse than that. Big Bro says they asked Canelo on the ESPN Spanish interview after the fight about Morel, and he didn't know who he was. I mean, Morel barely has double-digit fights, I think. I don't even know if he has 10 fights. I mean, that's just disrespectful. But, yeah, let's just to kind of put everything into perspective, to paint the picture, you know, the whole I think it's laughable, Chris, right? They're trying to say there's a new face of boxing. I don't even know if we want to entertain that talk because, I mean, I think it's kind of funny, but I don't know what you think about that.
It's like I said, it's sometimes you gotta say things for it to come, you know, to fruition.
Yeah,
I feel like Gervonta believes that he can be the face of boxing. He's not there yet.
All right, we'll leave it at that, Chris. We'll leave it at that.
Just like Ali said, I'm the greatest. He had to say it once before it became true. So at the moment, he's not the face of boxing. You know, the face of boxing.
We'll leave it at that, Chris. We'll leave it at that. Just to put it into perspective, I'm gonna just name some of the. I know different reports had different numbers, but give or take some of the numbers for the purses and all that. Ryder was guaranteed $1 million, but that can turn into $3 to $4 million depending on pay-per-view buys, which isn't bad for him for a fight in Mexico. Whereas Canelo was reportedly guaranteed $10 million, which will likely turn to 30 plus million after pay-per-view sales. 30 million, keep that number in mind, right? Might be 35, might be 40, but let's just say 30 to keep it fair, because let's try to keep it a little fair. Otherwise, these discussions don't make sense. But Gervonta Davis against Ryan Garcia, reportedly Gervonta, the biggest fight of his career, right? He was guaranteed $5 million, Ryan $2 million, 2.5 million, around that range, which ultimately will be about 15 to 20, depending on pay-per-view sales. 15 to 20, right? Compared to 30 for a tune-up. I mean, not even close, right? But let's move on to the Benavidez against Plant. Plant was guaranteed, or both, I think both were, I think the lowest number I saw for Plant was $500,000 up to $2 million, and then Benavidez about $4 million guaranteed, which can end up being around $20 million. Let's just say it's kind of close to Tank Davis, right? Which isn't bad for those guys. Of course, we'll never know the real number because PBC doesn't really report those accurately. But for the biggest fights of their careers, they don't even get close to Canelo numbers, considering it's a quote-unquote comeback fight after surgery in Mexico, all that good stuff. The numbers don't really, add up, right? Those are great numbers, I would say, for Gervonta, for Benavidez, right? Really, you can say the first big fights of their careers. So just to put it into perspective, right, a lot of people like to talk, but when you mention the numbers and the resumes, it's not even close. To me, it's laughable.
Yeah, no, again, it's to be the face of boxing, and we mentioned it with the Brits and with the Mexicans. You have to have a fan base behind you. And again, sometimes it just helps to have a country. Whether it's the UK, whether it's Mexico, whether it's Puerto Rico, whatever. But let's be honest, American fighters or American audiences, they don't really follow boxing. You gotta have to kind of break through that stratosphere the way Mayweather did. Become a villain and fight quality opponents back to back to back to even get a piece of that. So Gervonta has, and I've said this before, he's been in that witness protection program for the last 8 years, and he hasn't solidified a true fan base. That's he's got some okay numbers, but he doesn't have the numbers that you should have, at this stage. But yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens with time. But the only one that has consistently done it has been Canelo. Pacquiao did it at one time. You see those guys, the ones that continuously challenge themselves, in those big fights, and you get more and more and more fans. But nah, he's taking the first step for me, Gervonta. But it's just the first step. Can't call yourself the face of boxing until you take 5-6 more of those type of fights.
100%. And we're gonna get out of here shortly. We'll let Fernandez get roasted a little more. But I think.
Do we know the numbers, Gio? Though, like the actual numbers for Canelo Ryder?
Pay-per-view?
How many pay-per-view buys?
I didn't look it up, but I know DAZN usually doesn't report them, so I'm not sure if that number is out there.
We'll wait for those numbers and see how it did. Of course, I don't see it, doing the same numbers that it did against the Triple G fights. Not even the Triple G3 fight. Of course, you're competing with the streaming services and stuff. But yeah, man, we'll see what those numbers bring in, and see where they're at.
Yep. And then, like I said, we're gonna get out of here shortly, but we'll be back this weekend. Chris, Rollies is still fighting, right? Do you know against who?
I don't know too much about his opponent.
Hey,
but I just know
don't worry, Chris. No one knows. Don't worry. Nobody knows who he's fighting against. And of course, next week we'll probably preview the Devin Haney against Vasily Lomachenko fight. That's coming up May 20, live from Las Vegas, ESPN pay-per-view. And then, of course, the 27th, we have Mauricio Lara, Lee Wood, and also Luis Alberto Lopez and Mickey Conlan. That fight is on ESPN. Excuse me. And the Lara fight is on DAZN. So that's going to be a busy afternoon for us because those are going to be over in the UK. So still heating up, Chris. This was a good start to the month, the face of boxing, getting that dub in Guadalajara in front of his people. And then it's going to continue to heat up, man. Undisputed fight. And then the Mexico-UK rivalry continues.
And we also got Jenny back. He's fighting May 13th in Stockton. He's one of those guys that only the true boxing fans know who he is. I think he's the next guy in that middleweight, to make some noise. He was sparring with Big Bro's guy, Mario Lopez. So hey, Mario at 50 still getting it done, man. Shoot, I can't even do it now at 30. I'm like Canelo breaking down. But hey, Rolando Romero, man, fighting who knows who, but he was like Adrian Broner when Adrian was coming up, man. He's a little entertaining guy. I think I'm gonna watch that. See.
Oh man, you're a great guy, Chris. You're a great guy.
Hey, can you come on our show? If we've had Rollies on the show, I gotta support somehow.
Eldest Fernandez, they're struggling. I think he's calling it a night. Oh man, don't give up that easy, man. Come on.
Take a knee. Don't bust a rhyme, Fernandez. Hey, you're boxing as well, man.
Hey,
throw a couple haymakers, man.
Have some confidence in your takes, man.
No, but it's all love. We like to have fun here. I mean, at the end of the day, it's all opinions, As long as you can back it up and, get some takes, hey, it's all love.
Hey, key word, key phrase, as long as you can back it up. Man. If you're going to say nonsense, they're going to chew you up. We went easy on you. We're feeling nice today.
Hey, I'm the type to like go easy on him. No, these guys in the chat, man, they go for that body shot, man. No mercy. They don't get paid for overtime.
Big Bro said he busted Ryan Garcia. He just called it a night. You're the one saying goodbye. I'm having fun with the what?
With the Canelo stuff.
Oh,
but yeah, man.
Interesting.
Hey, final question to you. I know, we say Canelo's gonna fight. He might fight this guy. He might fight that guy. It's all speculation until it's signed and it's announced and all that. But what percentage of how confident are you that he fights Bivol in September?
90%. Hey,
That hard.
you know what he should do though?
What's up?
Because it was cool when Benavidez did it. He should fight David Lemieux.
What?
Hey, it was cool when Benavidez did it, right? I'm sure Fernandez wouldn't have an issue with that. He should fight Lemieux.
Oh, I mean, that's a stay busy fight, but
Chris, it's
I
a
mean,
joke. Chris, it's a
I mean-
joke. Just like the Benavidez Lemieux fight, it's a joke. It's not.
you
It's
sounded
not real
sick
life.
there. I was gonna think he's got a better resume than some of the other guys.
He should fight Anthony Durrell, dude. That's a great opponent right there.
Good one. Yeah,
Anthony Durrell, dude.
I would want to see him fight David next year, before they say that Canelo got too old.
David
At
Morrell?
32, I don't think you're too old at 32, but we know Canelo's been in the game since he was 15. Some guys don't start going pro till you're 21. That's an extra 5-6 years of tear, So, yeah, man, I would like to see him fight David before they say that Canelo got old.
I think David Morrell deserves it. Yeah, I agree with you.
All these Davids getting paid, man. Good for them, man. Good for them. But yeah, man. Gio, what would you rate Canelo's performance? Past fights, he's fought, the one that just happened, John Ryder, Triple G, B-Bol, Caleb Plant, Billy Joe. What would you give this performance for Canelo? A through B. And you could do A plus or B minuses. What would you rate this performance, this event?
I'd say B minus. He had a live dog in there with him, a guy who just beat Daniel Jacobs, a guy who I thought beat Callum Smith. So he wasn't just fighting anyone. I would say B minus. If he gets a knockout, I'd probably give him a B plus. But
Man.
yeah, I thought it was good. It wasn't great, but it was good. It's much better than those PBC guys for sure.
Man, hey, you're gonna be disappointed with me. I'm a tough teacher, man. I'm like Brian, our boy Brian. Shout out to him in the chat. I don't know if you can see my list, but it's a little backwards. But hey, the last 5 fights, the fifth one, moving forward till now, against Billy Joe Saunders, TKO in the 8th, I gave Canelo an 8. After that, he fought Caleb Plant, a young fighter. He knocked him out in the 11th. I gave Canelo an A minus for that one. He fought Dimitri Bivol. He went up in weight, lost a UD, but valiant effort. Came up short. Can't take him too much off of. I gave him a B plus. Against Gennady Golovkin, Gennady's past his prime, and Canelo. Obviously, people want to see a knockout. He did to the body, but Triple G's got a, even at 39, he's got a solid chin. I gave Canelo a B. And then this performance against John Ryder, I expected a knockout. I'm not gonna lie. Maybe I'm one of those people that I felt, the him being in home soil, he was gonna get him to the body. I actually predicted he was gonna, finish him to the body. I gave him a C plus / B minus. So on my scorecard, he's declining a little bit, but hopefully, it's just a bad day at the office. And again,
Chris,
hopefully,
it was not a bad day, Chris. Why do you keep saying that? Explain
it's
why.
not a bad day. Overall, it's not a bad day when you're getting paid 10 million plus, for sure. But I'm one of those guys. I want to enjoy Canelo. I know one day he's gonna have to retire, as do everybody else. But man, he's been the best pound for one, top 3 the last 7 years. So hey, I want to enjoy him in his prime as much as I can. Hopefully, we get another knockout or a big performance next time around.
Just curious, what did you rate David Benavidez's performance against Plant?
Against Plant, I know he got the job done. He won, but I think in my opinion, his stock fell a little bit, and Canelo's raised even in defeat. I think a B minus. B minus, yeah.
Did he break Plant's nose?
Did he break Plant's nose? I don't know. Did he? No, he didn't. Hey, I gave Canelo an A minus for that one.
Did he drop Plant? Did he drop Plant?
No, he almost had him out.
Okay.
What what do you rate David for that performance?
Did he win every round?
He lost a few of the early ones, which I knew he was going to lose.
See, the measuring stick is different. There's levels to this. This is all I'm trying to get at.
Yeah.
You know.
Again, he won, but to me, he felt. I don't know if he would have gone a knockout the way Canelo did, that would have, I would have increased his stock. But yeah.
J Rock says Canelo had a great performance, won every round.
Yeah. Like I said,
Chris. Come on.
I expected a knockout. That's all. That's it.
Why? You know how many people have stopped John Ryder?
Not too many. Not too many, but
one. That's it. Out of all those names, none of them were able to do it.
But none of those guys are Canelo, bro. I just, in Guadalajara, in your hometown, with grandma sitting front row, you had to get him out. But again, the win is the most important thing. Get that W and then look at bigger things.
Fernandez still alive. He came back. He said Kenny Bayless had a good chin against. Oh wait, never mind. He said he saved Plant. Oh man, imagine that. Imagine Benavidez can't even. He doesn't even know what to do when someone hugs him. He has no answer to that.
Yeah,
that's his. Imagine that's all you got to do is hug him, and he won't know what to do. Is what you're saying, Fernandez. It's interesting, man.
At this point, Gio, what? Favorite wise, percentage wise, where do you rank Canelo against David Benavidez right now?
Right now?
Is it 70-30? Is it 65-35?
I think like 85-15.
Damn.
Benavidez has zero defense. Zero defense. He's been down. Plant put them paws on him in a couple rounds, and he has no power. Benavidez he doesn't know how to fight going backward. His defense is his offense. And as you saw against Plant, he's not very accurate. So that's tailor-made for Canelo. Tailor-made.
That's a disparity. I mean, I still have a big disparity, but I have it 70-30 for Canelo. But I mean, as you said that you want them to fight sooner rather than later, or you want them to wait?
Wait to make it more even. Yeah, because David last year and last couple of years, he had no chance against Canelo. Now it's evening out with Canelo getting a little older. I wonder how many how many David Benavidez fights he's watched in his lifetime. Now, I think that would be a good question.
But yeah, man. Hey, Canelo come September, he's gonna fight those ones. I'm just waiting to see, what. He's already in the gym with Eddie. I saw a report that he's already back in the gym. He probably felt like I got to get back in. Maybe he wasn't too happy with his performance, but he's back in the gym with Eddie. I heard that Ryan Garcia reached out to Eddie as well. He's trying to get back in there. Trying to get there in his good graces. But
do you take him back?
Do I take Ryan Garcia back? Do I take Ryan Garcia back? I think there's a bunch of girls that have asked that same question. As a coach, I think I take him back. I think, I think there was a lot of stuff that went on that no disrespect to Joe Goosen, but you need to have a very, just boxing oriented type of coach. I think Goosen is, he does broadcasting. He's got his businesses, his gyms. He does a lot of stuff, and I think you really need to be engulfed in just that boxing realm with guys like Canelo, and all those other guys out there. So I think Eddie, I don't know if he takes him back, but it would be good for Ryan to go back. The comments.
Oh man, this guy said I don't think he watches boxing. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not even trying to be mean. He says, I believe that Morrell is the only one who can give real trouble or even KO Benavidez. But both guys are far above Canelo's level. Ask the question against, please. I didn't hear right. Tell you, he doesn't. No, I'm gonna just ignore him.
Okay. No, so you see, Morrell, he's a good guy. He's a good fighter. Like he's got good skills. He's got good lane. He's got good physical attributes. But I would say don't fall in love with, with early performances, because he's not really fighting top level guys just yet. You could put me in with anybody and I will look sensational, even though,
Yeah, get out of here.
what experience do I got, So it's like you can't just go based on that litmus test, until he starts fighting. And it's the same thing with Benavidez. He's gonna look sensational against, C level, B level guys. It's up until they get to that A level, it's a whole new ball game. So yeah, David Benavidez and Morel, they're good fighters, but they haven't even, done 1/5 of what Canelo has done.
I don't even know what to say, but what was I gonna say? Honestly, I don't take Ryan back if I'm Eddie. It seemed like there was some drama there, and I don't know. I didn't click on the clip, but I saw that he was on the podcast with El Terrible and Marco Antonio Barrera, un round más, and one of the clips said, pretty much saying that Ryan was indisciplined. I didn't click on it, but I'll watch it and then maybe we can discuss that later. But I just feel like I don't know if Eddie wants that drama again, because what has changed really in the past couple years? Like unless he really learns from this loss, I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't take him back.
Yeah. Man, I think just Ryan has a lot of distractions, and I don't know. He's obviously with the fame, he's some girl distractions. He's looking for God. I don't know. There's a lot going on, and of course, we're not in his shoes. We don't know what's going on, but I just think Ryan Garcia is getting pulled in so many different directions, and it's tough, man. It's tough when you're getting pulled by, the entertainment, and then your boxing, and then you got to follow God. It's a lot for somebody like that to overtake. So we'll see, man. I'd say he needs somebody like a Virgil Hunter, somebody that can work on a defense, and it's, and maybe get out there and not be around LA and, the distractions of, down here. But hey, we'll see what happens. But if Eddie doesn't take him back, there's reasons why, and so you got to respect that. But I think that's going to be one of the big news. Who is going to be Ryan Garcia's next coach?
Yeah, interesting.
If you're Robert, do you take Robert?
If you're Robert, what?
You take him? If Ryan says like, "Hey, fuck, man, can I get Eddie? Let me see what Robert." Yeah. If you're Robert, do you take him?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Sure, those paychecks are gonna look good. I'm sure you got a good one with Joshua.
For real. Yeah. I don't know how the dynamics goes with the other boxers out there, but it would only serve Ryan, that sparring. Yeah, I'm out here in Coachella, and I've, Coach Joel Diaz, who trained Tim Bradley to a championship. He was like the only one in his gym that believed in Ryan. All the other, fighters there in his stable, and they're all mostly Latino, they all bet against Ryan, and, they took Coach's money, they're betting for Tank. So I don't know the dynamics that would follow Ryan if he were to go to a place like a Robert Garcia gym or Joel Diaz. But hey, you got to find yourself an elite coach at this level. So yeah.
All right, that's that. Get your last jokes in on this guy. And then we'll be back next week previewing a Lomachenko Haney undisputed fight. The undercard is gonna be stacked.
Yeah.
I'm gonna watch all those fights. Of course, Oscar Valdez, Blue Nose Lopez, the rematch. Blue Nose would actually knock down Oscar Valdez in that first fight, and then was stopped. A lot of people thought it was an early stoppage, including myself. So they're gonna run it back. Should be a good fight for both of them. Nakatila, Murataya, great fight. Of course, we were rooting for our boy Murataya, but whoever wins that fight is really going to insert their name in that. I would say top 10 of 135 pounds, man. Those guys are coming, so watch out for those. And there's a lot of names on that undercard. I believe Emiliano Vargas is on there. There's some action this weekend as well. Johnny Beck is fighting. The other Vargas sibling is fighting on that card, Amado. So they're getting those guys some action there on the top rank undercards. I might skip this weekend, Chris. I might skip this weekend when it comes to boxing.
Yeah. yeah, you might need a break. You got to give yourself a little bit of break. That obviously we know which weeks you're looking forward to. But Devin Haney, taking on Lomachenko on the 20th, and of course your boy Venado, and a lot of fighting on the 27th. That one's gonna be for the true boxing fans. Don't miss that one.
Hey,
But yeah, I
now,
got one final question.
all right, go for it. Go for it.
Pertaining to the May 20th. You don't have to say who you favor, but percentage wise, how close do you have that fight? Is it 60-40? Is it
55-45? Yeah, I think
Say that
it's a 55-45. I think it's a close one for many reasons, but we'll get into that next week. If you want to drop your percentage for if you have one. If you don't, then come up with one right now on the spot.
47-53. 47. I don't have it 50-50, but it's
oh my
to
God.
me it's very close. And we'll
know,
get into it.
Chris got a calculator for that one.
I had to do my math real quick.
Last thing before we go. I know Big Bro mentioned Berlanga as a possible opponent for Canelo. He's on the zone now. Canelo chews him up, right? You would think so?
Yeah, easy right now.
Mm.
Right now he licks his chops, and maybe Fernandez thinks that Berlanga's also. Like I said, early on, you're gonna look like a beast early on, man.
Leave him alone.
Early
leave him
on.
alone.
But
Berlanga Pacheco,
yeah.
That's a fight to make in a few years. But all right, Jaime Munguia, his fight got announced against Derevyanchenko. Do
That's
we
right.
care? Talking about El Terrible, he's still coaching, training. Munguia, do we care about that at all? Derevyanchenko, a little older now. He's taking a few losses. Very good fighter in his time. I thought he beat Gennady Golovkin. He also fought one of the Charlos, gave him a little bit of a tough fight there. Derevyanchenko, I believe he beat Daniel Jacobs, right? If my memory doesn't fail me. But I think he's close to retirement now, Derevyanchenko.
Yeah. I was gonna say I mean, if I watch this fight, the only reason would be because I have respect for Derevyanchenko, because that, like you said, once upon a time he was just that underrated guy that just fought his heart out. He fought the very best guys in their primes, and he came up short. But that this guy is he's a warrior. I wouldn't watch it for Munguia. Munguia, as we remember, started off very freaking ballsy in the beginning of his career. I think it was 18-19 when he called that Triple G. And since then, he busted a Gervonta. He entered that witness protection program too. So I've lost massive respect for Munguia, over the years, just based on the fact that he's like this talent that just doesn't fight, the very best. He's, I don't know. We'll see what happens. But if I watch this fight, it's really only to give props to Derevyanchenko, who, we know he's past his prime. He's like a Triple G. But man,
I hope he gets paid.
I hope you got to be cherry picking like this.
I hope he gets paid. That's all I hope. I hope he gets his paycheck. Yeah, it's another guy who put in the work, deserves those paychecks. But yeah, Chris, I think this is a good time to get out of here. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure to sub. If your last name is Fernandez, I'm gonna give you some homework if you want to return, man. I'm gonna give you some homework. What should he watch, Chris? David Benavidez' last 5 fights? Or David Morales?
Yeah. Sure, what David Benavidez' last 5 fights. That's some good homework. I would say just watch. Go to Box Rec. Not joking. For now, Chavez Senior's resume. Put it next to Canelo's and just compare them. There's nothing wrong with being wrong. I'm wrong all the time. It's just about educating yourself, and you're gonna be all right, kid.
Also, watch Julio Cesar Chavez fight in El Estadio Azteca in Mexico. Just watch it. It's not fake. Trust me, it's real. Just watch it. But yeah, Munguia still on the stroller, says Big Bro. Man, we'll see.
Real.
He has to pass his test. He has to look impressive, or else I'm officially done with him. I'm not gonna lie. I think. He's still young, but he should pass a test like Derevyanchenko, and then he should take a big fight. So that's that, Chris. I have nothing else. Next week we'll be back. May is going to be hot, so we'll be here to speak more about it.
Yeah, no, that's all for me, man. Again, it's May. May's getting hot. Bunch of good fights to watch. May 20th, May 27th. Don't miss those fights, man. Those fights are for the boxing purists, and then the 27th is, for the boxing fans, man. Don't sleep on those fights.
I'm betting. J-Rock says I'm betting my daughter's college fund on Canelo beating Benavidez. Oh man, this guy inspires me. You see that, Chris? That's some true inspiration right there. Let's go.
Vámonos.
Let's go, man.
Hey, shout out to Ryder, man. He got his payday. Payday. You got payday.
His nickname is a gorilla, and he's that.
Hey, that's life-changing money right there, man.
Let's
crazy.
Go. Imagine Benavidez broke his nose in the second round. Oh, he would have left. He would have been like, no more hobby on the side if my nose is broken. So
this could have been boo-boo, man. He could have been getting that real money, but he's like Munguia, man. Just fighting the fighters that he shouldn't be fighting, man. But let's go.
Hey, someone the other day said they were having trouble catching Ubers. They said Boo Boo's fighting all of them. All right, let's get out of here, mates.
Somebody's got to fight him, and Cesar is retired, so we got to do it. I'm just kidding, Fernandez. Teasing you, man.
I'm just teasing. All right, make sure to follow us as well, against Against the Ropes on all social media platforms. Hit up that community tab. Chris, actually, look, last thing before we get out of here. I feel like a lot of people will be voting after the fact, but we posted the poll of when they thought this fight would end, Canelo Ryder, and these were the results. Question was Canelo versus Ryder, and what round do you think it ends? Round 1 through 4 garnered 11% of the votes. Round 5 through 7, 30%, about a third. Round 8 through 11, 28%. And it goes to decision, 30%.
Oh, damn.
I don't know.
We got some smart people.
I don't know if they're just that accurate or they were just voted after the fact, but that's impressive. 30%, one-third, 80 votes essentially. And one-third thought that it was going to go to decision. Maybe there is hope, Chris. Maybe there is hope. Maybe people do watch boxing after all.
Yeah, no, I mean, they know some stuff. They know, like you said time and time again, man, even a bro clock is right twice a day. But not.
Yeah, I was impressed by that. I had to mention it.
They're pretty spot on. Hey, because it was either going to end in the 5th or it was going to go the distance. So they're not. I know a thing or two, man. I gotta watch out for my job, man. Y'all about to take it.
All right. Well, that's that. Thank you guys for keeping that chat lit. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll be back soon, mates. Let's go, Mike.
No pasa nada, Fernandez.
Horrible fighter. He's a horrible fighter. Payday. Shout out.
Michael, you already know I said I'm a fun guy.
Hola amigos, soy AtR. Quiero mandar un saludo para mis amigos de Contra las Cuerdas, que se le muchas ganas. Un abrazo,
Shout out to Against the Ropes. You know what mine is? Let's box, bitches. It's almost fight night.
Shout out to Against the Ropes. Thank you for the support. Keep doing your thing. You're doing a great job. So thank you and best wishes.
Huge shout out to Against the Ropes.
Shout out to Against the Ropes. Thank you guys for the interview and hope to see you guys soon.
Against the Ropes, always doing the right thing.
Shout out to Against the Ropes, man. I appreciate you guys for having me.